a quilt block, and it's called square in a square, or sometimes called diamond in a square. And I'm also going to show you how to cut the center part of the block on point, which is important when you're using a directional fabric like I'm going to use today. So let's take a closer look at the block and I'll show you what I mean. Here is the right way. The cats are facing straight up and down, so it fits nicely into the block. Here I've cut a piece of center just square, not on point, and to fit it into your block you'd have to turn it to the side, and the cats are not going in the right direction. So let's go to the cutting area and I'll show you how to cut all the pieces to construct the block. The block I'm making today finishes at 5 inches. That means when we make it today it'll be 5.5, but when it's sewn into the quilt it'll finish at 5 inches. And what you'll need is 2 fabrics, a focus fabric and a background fabric. And because, like I showed you, that we're cutting this on point, we need to start out with a piece of fabric that's 6 inches wide at least, and at least 12 inches long. And if you were not cutting with a directional fabric and you don't have to worry about cutting on point, you would simply cut a 4-inch square for your center. And for your background, you need to cut 2 blocks at 3.5 inches square. So let's go ahead and we'll start by cutting the background fabric. I'm starting with a 3.5-inch strip width of fabric. And here's my selvages, so I'll just trim those off. And again, I want 2, and I have 2 pieces here, at 3.5 inches square. And then I'm going to go ahead and subcut this into triangles. So there's my 4 background pieces ready for the block. I have 2 pieces of fabric here, so I'll be cutting 2 of the center blocks at once. And again, it's 6 inches wide. And I'm using this square up ruler, and it has different sizes here, and we want the center to be 4 inches. I don't know if you can see that very well. So I'm going to tilt it like a diamond shape. And I like to bring it as close to this edge as I can so I can use as much of the fabric as possible. So I just make sure that there's enough fabric on each side of the 4, and there is. So my first cut, I'm going to cut from here and then here. Hold my ruler steady. And I do like to use this larger ruler so I have some room to cut. So I'll do 2 cuts. And this one I like to go ahead and cut, even though it's a little awkward. It's just a short piece, but it makes it easier. Let's see if that cut. Okay. Now just pick up your fabric, turn it around. So these are the cuts that we made, so those are good. Again, using the square up ruler. Here's the 4 and 4, and I'm going to line those up with the cuts that we previously made. That looks pretty good. And now I'll just cut here. Turn it around. Line it up. 4 and 4. And do my last cut. And now we have 2 center cut on point fabrics. Before I attach my first two background pieces, I'm going to go ahead and fold my center square in half just to get some center marks. And I'm using this roller from Violet Craft. Let's see if you can see that. Yep, and then I'm going to do the opposite direction. And this just helps me place my background fabrics in the center. Okay. Again, we have 4 background pieces. I'll take my first piece, and it would be right sides together, and place it like so, match up these 2 edges. And the reason I folded it is so that I can have the point of my triangle on my fold. Just kind of helps me keep it all nice and centered. And I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch seam right along here. I am using my leader cloth right now. I'll snip off my leader cloth, and I'm just going to fold this back for now. And on the opposite side, I'm going to repeat the process, match up my point to my fold mark, use my leader cloth. You don't have to use a leader, I've been in the habit of it, and I kind of like it, using it. Again, a 1/4 inch seam. Now I'll snip that off and take it to the iron and press these flat. I'll first set the seam, open it up, and press it out. Same on the other side. Set the seam, press out. Now we'll take it back to the machine and sew on the other 2 background pieces. And I don't bother trimming these off at this point. I'll just trim the block at the end. I can still see my fold mark. Line up my long edge. Center it. Make sure it's staying lined up. I'll fold that one out of the way again. Take my last piece, match up the long side to my square, match up my point to my fold. That looks good. And sew that with my 1/4 inch seam. And I'll take it to the iron and give it a press. Okay, I'll set the seam, give it a press. Now I'll take it over to the cutting area and trim it to 5.5 inches square. I'm going to use my same square up ruler. Look for my 5.5. place it on the block. And I'll cut these two sides. And I just wanted to mention, if you do want to have a little more wiggle room along the sides of your block, all you need to do is cut these background pieces 4-inch square instead of 3.5-inch square. So now I'll cut these two sides. Now I'll just flip the block around so these two sides are showing. Line it up again. So there you have the completed square to square block with the center on point. I think it turned out super cute. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.